G'day. It's Monday, Clarify Purpose, and we're going to look back on the weekend where we shared freely. I'm about to make my man shake, protein shake of the day. Why? Because I've trimmed down. Why? Because plenty of protein, but I walk 2 hours a day as well. Well, I used to with my dog Pip, Kuna Pippi, the warrior princess who brought peace to the world thousands, if not millions of years ago here in Australia. An Aboriginal, Indigenous war princess that never brought war to anyone. She loved everyone, just like Pip. And we used to walk the beaches every day before I went through this ordeal over the weekend where the police officers thought that I was domestically abusing my wife. It's more emotional and psychological on me, but be more social, simply say, g'day.
Do you feel like there's never enough time in the day? Are you struggling to switch off from work, the internet, and social media? It's time to reconnect with family, friends, colleagues, and most importantly, yourself. Join the Be More Social Daily Challenge. Just 10 minutes a day to recharge, gain more energy, and enjoy what matters most. Let's begin.
Alrighty, so here we are, out on the back deck. And I'm going to talk to you about my weekend and how exciting that was and how that relates to you. Whether you're listening to this in the Zoom room as a coaching session, as a group coaching session, or you're listening to this by yourself. And you can hear the birds, the dogs. You won't see Pip. You won't hear Pip. You'll hear me. You'll hear everything else that's going on inside your head. So how do we clarify purpose? Well, we need to understand why. Why are we here? Whether this is some big picture idea of religion and God and why are we put on this earth, or why am I going to work today, or why am I driving in traffic? Why do I have to listen to my parents or listen to my boss? Well, this is my key, this is my purpose, to be more social. Because no matter how many times I do the Clifton Strength Finder, connectedness will always be in my top 5. Why? Because I believe so strongly in being connected. Connected with other humans, connected with animals, connected with nature. That's what it means. But I used to live on the balcony, level 6, 3 units, 666. 601, 602, 603. We're the oldest living relatives in that building. Not because of our age, because of when the building was finished in 2007. There's 4 of us, 101, 601, 602 and 603. 602 is a young, lovely lady by the name of Pet. My wife's middle name is Peter, P-E-T-A. Also Pet, but Petter doesn't work. Peter is also an animal rights activist group, but her husband was Hungarian. My ex-wife's father, Dennis, is Hungarian, married to Denise. It's all in the name. But then 603 is Victoria, single woman with 2 sons. One's in the US, one's in London, she's in the Gold Coast. Her brother, Richard, my father's name, Nick's brother's name. Richard had a dog named Shadow. I met him on the streets before I knew that Richard and Victoria were related. And I did that 10 years ago when he walked around with Shadow. And I shed a tear back then because I felt like my father's shadow, Richard. We're all connected in some way or another. But 101 is May. May is Chinese, lives in Melbourne now. Why did she leave? Well, I'm under the impression that a man did something to her. Financially, it wasn't physical, it was probably emotional and psychological. But physically, it drained her energy. How do I know? She sat on my balcony and told me, as we had a glass of wine, and I talked about renting her property for her, just doing it my way. But she focused on the money and left, because she misunderstood what I meant. And that's okay, I accept that. So I've left that unit now for this. on the water. Yeah. I wanted 2 homes. One a home of strength, and one home I wanted to retire and spend the rest of my life in. One up high on the 6th floor and one down low on the water with your own private beach. That's my purpose, was to bring people in here on the NDIS system or the self-employment assisted program. Yeah, the old NICE program, new enterprise incentive scheme. NDIS is the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and SEEP is the Self-Employment Assistance Program. They're just rebranded words for courses and programs that I delivered. And the intention was to bring NDIS participants and their carers, because a lot of these carers are my friends that I went to school with and played football with, and they raise kids with autism and ADHD, bipolar, and they already feel guilty for bringing them into the world with that so-called disability. But rather than looking at it as a disability, we need to identify how it is a ability or an ability. Because when we realise that they have superpowers that we don't, everyone does, you've just got to understand your strengths. And I do that through my daily challenges: clarify purpose, strengthen habits, elevate language, cultivate awareness, sharpen focus, embrace learning, and share freely. 7, because my numbers are 7. I was born at 7:07 on the 7th of the 7th, 1973. The same year, India went nuclear, and roughly around the same time, Richard Nixon was found guilty in Watergate, that he depegged the US dollar from gold standards. My father Richard came to here in, I think, 69, because he had to wait until conscription age moved from this earth, where they were fighting in Vietnam. But 69 was also significant because man supposedly landed on the moon, because a particular John F. Kennedy decided in 1963 that man would land on the moon within that decade. And John F. Kennedy, well, John Kennedy was my father's best friend, who owned Kilcoy Meats, because my father was the head of the Australian Meat Exporters Federal Council, where in 1963, when John F. Kennedy was shot or made that declaration about landing on the moon, is when my grandfather on my mother's side took over the Australian Meat Exporters Federal Council and became the leaders of free trade in beef around the world. It's all connected. My grandfather was a POW who escaped from 3 prisoner of war camps, but he had PTSD that no one else understood because he was ahead of his time. So he was an angry man. Some called him corrupt, but he did the best that he could with the tools he was given. Well, I've been given better tools, AI and strengths. So if you want to get involved, or you already are involved, clarify your purpose today with intention of focusing on your strengths. And I'll leave you here with this thought: be more social, simply say, g'day.
Thanks for listening as we take on the Be More Social challenge. Join Danny Crouch tomorrow as he shares his journey, and we hope you'll join in too. Drop a comment below. Tell us how it's going, ask questions and share your insights. Find more details in the description or at chooseyourchapter.com.au. Let's make time, boost energy, and aim to be more social today.
G'day, g'day, g'day. It's Monday, Clarify Purpose, and we start another week. Isn't that awesome? We're going to reflect on the weekend and what a weekend it was. Share freely. Let's go. Be more social. Simply say, g'day.